Barracks, and I am Brian Giffen, and it's Monday. And the Bulldogs, of course, coming off a tough night result-wise over at Mercer, but obviously acquitted themselves reasonably well, hung in the game. They were competitive, just didn't get it done, and maybe outlasted a little bit by a Mercer team, a little bit more experienced, a little bit, I guess, at some of the premium positions, a little bit more talented than we had seen the first 3 weeks of the season. But I'm Brian Giffen, the radio voice of the Citadel. Maurice Drayton will be along here, the head football coach, in a few moments, and we will relive this game to a degree. Right now, Jay Sullivan, the SID from the Citadel, sits in with me, and Jay, I have you up here for a couple reasons, but I wanted to start for a minute with this scary moment near the end of the third quarter in this game Saturday night, and this was Khalid Moody, defensive back for Mercer, who went down, and obviously there was a great deal of concern. We didn't know. Obviously, you were in the broadcast booth with us, and we didn't really know the scope of what was going on down there. Thankfully, I'm happy to report that he's okay, but man, that was a pretty scary moment there very late in the third quarter, early fourth, and now Maurice Drayton is here, so Coach is going to sit right down. And hey, I guess you're a little busy today, huh?
Yeah, today has been a day.
Hey, we were just talking before we get into a little bit looking back at this Mercer game. I'd like to talk a little bit about this Khalid Moody situation that happened on the field. Obviously, we're reminded all the time, as important as football is, as important as sports and winning and all that is, we're reminded all the time that there are a lot of things that are a lot more important. And that was a really scary moment. And where we were, Coach, we had no idea what was going on.
Yeah, unfortunately and fortunately, I've had the experience of being in front of that more times than I would like. All times coming out and with the young men in question being safe. So we were very hopeful that that would be the case again, and it was. It was our understanding once we got to the locker room that he was up and talking in his hospital facility. So our guys handled it the right way. Those who believe in prayer sent up a lot of prayers for the young man, and they were answered.
At what point did you, I would assume fairly right away down on the field level, at what point did anybody really know what we were dealing with? Obviously, guys go down, especially early in the season too, where it's hot, guys get banged up, one thing or the other. At what point did you guys know, how quickly did you guys know this was something far more serious than that?
Well, as a coach and having been through it before, I knew immediately. We knew, and so we knew it was very serious. Just very thankful for the medical personnel that was in attendance. They were Johnny on the spot. Did an awesome job. Everything was handled the right way. You can't say enough good things about our medical personnel.
This is Beyond the Barracks, presented by Cutwater Spirits. I'm Brian Giffen. He's Maurice Drayton, and we're live, as we usually are, at Over the Horizon Brewing here at 2200 Harriet Street. And, Coach, let's unpack this game now, a 38-21 loss to Mercer. But you fell behind 14-0 early. That's the exact opposite of what you're looking for. But you also stormed your way right back into it. You leveled the game at 14, and really even after the pick six, which was a huge, decisive play in the game, still there was no quit. You guys battled your way right back within a touchdown, and you really hung in there the whole night.
Yeah, there's no quit in this team. What's disappointing is the fact, and we've talked about, and we're coming up with different ideas to start fast, and we have not been able to do that yet. It still goes back to the mindset. Our guys know that they can throw a punch. Our guys know that they can take a punch. Now we have to get our guys to throw the first punch.
Right.
Don't wait until you get hit in the mouth before you decide, hey, all right, we need to play. And that's what we're continuing to work on with our guys, is that muscle between the two ears.
Their defense was every bit as good as advertised, and every yard was tough to come by. This was an astounding stat to me. We were told at the beginning of the game that they had stopped 28 consecutive third down attempts. How many games even is that? 3-4 games?
Yes.
And that's an amazing thing. So, first of all, when you got your first down on a third down play, well, okay, there's one of them checked off the list. But that just speaks, though, to how stout they are. And then when you look at the big picture, you guys managed a 98-yard drive against them, too.
Yes, definitely. That was very encouraging. That drive, the guys showed that they could sustain a drive. Two, execution in order to sustain that drive was huge for us, and it was huge for our confidence, and it'll be huge for us going forward as well. And that defense, like you said, they are as good as advertised. They're the real deal, Holyfield. But it's necessary to go against that early, so that now that we have the confidence going forward for the rest of the season.
You talked with Lee a little bit after the game, and one of the things you mentioned was still working your way up to the speed of the game factor. Can you elaborate a little bit on what you meant there?
Yes, and it goes back to the confidence and the mindset. Just the speed of the game. We play careful early on because no one wanted to make a mistake.
Right.
Versus just letting it hang out, just going out there, not being afraid to make a mistake. And it took us 2 series before the guys, was able to relax and say, you know what, we can play with these guys.
The Dogs take on East Tennessee State this Saturday, back home, and it's Parents' Weekend. That's always a big one on campus. 2 o'clock kickoff. We'll be on the air with pregame coverage at 1 o'clock right here on radio. But let's talk a little bit about, we're talking about the team speed thing. How do you instill that, and how do you actually work toward coaching that stuff as you guys work through practices and all that? How do you bring those things to the top?
Yeah, a couple ideas, a couple things that we do after our pre-practice routine and after our calisthenics, our stretches. Just getting directly into team periods, creating competition periods right away where there is a winner, there is a loser, and there's consequences with that to help these guys encourage themselves to start fast. Those are a few of the things that we have done in the past and that we will continue to do to try to jumpstart our guys.
Parents' Weekend, as I talked about a moment ago, is always a big deal. What are your thoughts when you look at Parents' Weekend and what that means to the program and the school, and maybe a good memory or two from Parents' Weekend games over the years?
Yes, it's a huge, huge weekend on our campus. We have 12 seniors who will be receiving their rings, and that is an outstanding feat. We're very, very happy for those 12. Now, let me say this. That goes to show you how young we truly are and what we're playing with. Teams that have been successful at the Citadel are senior laden, where you have 20 guys getting a ring versus 12. So we're still playing with true freshmen, redshirt freshmen, true sophomores, redshirt sophomores. But not to take away from this 12. We're very happy for them, and it's an exciting time in their lives.
It was obviously tough to run the ball, and you knew it was going to be going in there. The result of that is JB throws for over 300. I know he had a couple of them he'd love to have back. You're going to have some of those kinds of things, but he put up good numbers for you. He improvised. He threw the ball around well. You got guys open down the field. What are your thoughts on his play in this one, and generally the way your offense handled this, knowing they weren't really going to be able to run the ball well? Yeah,
so we went into the game knowing that we would have to throw the ball a little more than what we would typically like to. Early on we missed 2 throws. I wish we could have got back. Really, it was just 1 throw that we missed. The other one, in my opinion, was a missed opportunity by the official to call DPI. But we can't rely on those guys.
And they love calling those too. It's just
yeah, but he missed it on that time. But JB did a good job in connecting, spreading the ball around. What's good is knowing that we had to execute a vertical pass game,
right,
and then going in and being able to do that
against a really good defense.
Against a really good defense, it gives us confidence moving forward, and it goes back to what we originally talked about. This will help us. With throwing the first punch.
And he really spread it around too. I mean, when he puts up those kind of numbers throwing it, you're going to have a number of receivers involved, and you certainly did. So Dervon, for one, has kind of developed this chemistry, it appears, with JB, but, you get other guys involved too, Tyler and Romello and various others. And the end result of that is spreading it around. A number of guys had very good days on that side of the ball.
Yes, definitely. And that's what we want. We want to spread it around. No one person should do the heavy lifting on our team. We're not built that way. We're built as a team where we have a bunch of blue-collar guys, and this is what you do as a blue-collar guy. You work your shift. You do your 1/11th, and we want our guys to excel and star in the roles that we have for them.
James Platt, and I mean, again, your special teams have been impactful, and maybe not in the entire game as impactful this time around, but that punt that he had that went out of bounds at the 2-yard line, that flipped the entire momentum of the game for most of the rest of the half. That I would submit that punt that going out of bounds right there is a big part of what started you back into the game there, down 14-0.
Absolutely. Early on, my coaches laughed at me when I told them one of our goals is to always end a series with a kick, whether it's a PAT, whether it's a field goal, or whether it's a punt. You don't want to turn the ball over. And when you have a punter the way we do, who's a weapon, who understands the pooch area as well as the field area, he's definitely a weapon because the hidden field position is a stat that we keep up with that directly equates to wins and losses.
I'd love to know, just now that you've had a few days to digest it, obviously you've long since moved on to this week's game, and why wouldn't you? It's another handful on the horizon for you, but what do you guys take from this game? What do you learn from it, and what do you use from it to get better now going forward other than just the experience and the seasoning?
Well, it's really simple. Obviously, we accentuate the positive, so everything that was positive, we build upon that. And the things that did not go our way or the things that we did not execute, we just have to make sure we do not do those things again. You will hear me say this to the end of time. I don't believe in mistakes, right? If you learn from that mishap and you never do it again, it's a lesson learned, not a mistake.
And it's something that you ultimately use to get better.
Absolutely.
Let's talk for a second before we take a break here about Cale Williams, Dom Poole. Both those guys in particular, we've called their names a lot. Both were, right near the top in terms of tackles. Both were very active. Dom had the pick six, and he's really thrived in that nickel role, hasn't he?
Yes, he was hesitant initially. He didn't want to play nickel, but we moved him from the outside to the inside. And the good thing about the nickel in our scheme, our nickel will pressure off the edge. We ask our nickel to play zone coverages. We ask our nickel to play man-to-man coverages, and he has really done a great job with that. I really think that he could have an opportunity beyond the Citadel if he continues to grow in that role.
That's very high praise. This is Beyond the Barracks. It is presented by Cutwater Spirits. Yeah, we're live at Over the Horizon Brewing, as we are typically on Monday. I'm Brian Giffen. He's Maurice Drayton. And we're talking Citadel football until 7 o'clock, and it's great to have all you with us. Great to have all you that are here on hand also, and those of you that are joining us via the magic of video.
Yes.
It's good to have all of you with us. Now, so you brought Zane Vance with you. We're going to talk Bandits coming up in a little bit. We're also going to talk a little bit of cross-country after a while, as Marie Doman will join us, and we'll talk a little bit about the cross-country Bulldogs, and we'll also look ahead to East Tennessee State. Talked about it a little bit ago. Yet another handful, and one that just so happens to be playing really well as they come in here, too. And we'll look at all of that and talk about all that stuff as well. Right here, we'll take a timeout. Joe Mack is on the other end running things in the studio. We will take a timeout here. When we come back, we will bring Zane Vance up here, and we'll talk some Bandits with Zane Vance and Coach Drayton. That comes your way after this timeout. You're listening to the Citadel Bulldogs Radio Network.
All right.
brewing. I'm Brian Giffen, the radio voice of the Citadel, and of course joined by Maurice Drayton, the head football coach of the Dogs as well. And now Zane Vance, the Bandits coach, is up here with us. Now the first question, and this is one for everybody out there, please explain the Bandit role for those out there. I mean, obviously, it's a word everybody knows, but how it applies to football anyway.
Sure, to keep it really simple, just think outside linebackers.
Right.
That's the simplest thing. My wife asked me about 2 months in. She said, "When are you going to tell me what a bandit is?" So,
no, I mean, so is it a way that you use the linebackers in you guys' particular scheme that hence
yes,
the name?
sir. Yes, sir. If you think back about what made Lawrence Taylor famous, it wasn't that he was just an edge rusher and he was good at it. He would rush, he would blitz, he would drop off and cover, had a lot of interceptions. So it's all part of it's a hybrid position, part of a package that based on your other rotations, it decides what he does.
Love to get your thoughts. Look, you've been around this a long, long time too. Heck, in this area even. We were talking about some of your stops a couple of moments ago, but I'd love to get your thoughts on how things have progressed this year so far with this team. There's a decided difference in confidence and all that stuff, and it's growing each and every week, but it's fun to watch. It's fun to watch the progress of these guys. It's especially fun for me to watch these guys and their progression from last year to this as they mature and develop and get better.
Yes, sir. Well, I arrived here in April and had the opportunity just to basically watch most of spring practice while we, waited for my paperwork to clear and all of that. And I say all the time that I don't say a whole lot, but I hear everything.
Right.
And I could see in the faces of the guys that there was a very quiet determination that, Coach, you don't know what we went through last year, and we're not going through it again. And it was quantifiable. You could actually see it. And I don't think anything any better for our football team could have happened than to be down 21-3 on the road against an arch rival and come back and win that football game. I think that was such a validation of the 5:40 a.m. price that they paid and things that I heard about that I wasn't here to be a part of, but I heard about, and what a validation. And there's no question that it is an improved group. I think the statistics bear that out, but more importantly, just watching them play and watching them compete bears that out.
It's an interesting point you make, because Coach and I sat here, we started this the week before that game, and obviously, nobody had played a game yet, so all we knew is, okay, you're going to approach it carefully, you're going to let it hang out and go out there and try to win some football games. But to get that one and get going on a good note like that and get all the tough stuff from last year behind you, I'd love to know if, and Coach, you may speak to this a little better, going through that last year, how has that bonded these guys and added whatever layers of determination to what they're doing this year?
Well, it's everything. Bonds are built through adversity, and the necessity of all inventions, right, is things that need to be answered. So they did a really good job in the off season of bonding together, being together outside of football, and I believe that's what has helped us, to get over the hump, so to speak.
I think one of the things that's been a hallmark of this group through the 4 games, too, is it really hasn't mattered what happens. And the South Carolina State game's another one where, they're statistically at least winning that game fairly lopsided at halftime anyway. But there's been reasons, there's been adversity in these games, yet the fight has never wavered. And it's stayed the same right to the end. And look, one way or the other, eventually that's going to pay dividends and good things are going to come of that.
Yes, sir, absolutely. The South Carolina State game, particularly that you mentioned, the bottom line is that game is in play, with 5 minutes left. Right. And I have a different perspective because I wasn't here, and all I can do is watch and realize that, a year ago, that's a 3-touchdown football game, and people are heading to the parking lot early, right? And we had the opportunity. None of us are satisfied with that. There are no moral victories. There's no data boys because you tried. But the fight and the resilience is, that's where we're entering now. You enter into late September, October conference football. That's going to be every week.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, to be honest with you, too, I mean, by and large, through the 4 games, you're going to give up some plays here and there and one thing or the other. But defense has been pretty much a staple. You've hung in these games, and you've been there, and you've been scratching and clawing, and have gotten stops when you really need stops. Those are two things that stood out in that South Carolina State game. Fourth quarter, you get 2 stops when you got opportunities to go win the football game. You're not always going to do that, but if you're getting those stops, you're always going to have a chance to.
That's right.
Yes, sir. Raleigh Jackson, our defensive coordinator, I've come to know him probably in the last year. He and I talked quite a bit before I came over here, and I've been doing this 39 years.
Right.
And I don't say things lightly just to throw him out there. He's really sharp. He is a humble person. He is a great guy to work with and under, and he turns every stone. I told Coach Drayton a while back, I said he cannot have any hobbies because every morning I come in, there's a new cut up from, hey, I was watching Tulsa do this, and I'm like, Tulsa? Right? I mean, where are you finding this? But you listen to him. I'm in the press box, and you listen to him, because when he's speaking, I don't, obviously.
Right.
And sometimes his mic will still be flipped down. He's talking to the guys, and it's just a constant stream of adjustments.
One of the things that we had some fun with last year, we had Patrick Covington on a pregame, the rivalry and all. He's a Furman guy, and, of course, Coach and Patrick going back and forth between Citadel, Furman. Well, you're an ETSU guy, and here you go. You got your alma mater coming in here this week, and they're playing really well. As Coach Drayton and I talked about, they come off a game they should have knocked off North Dakota State, and the game got away, and then they blew out Elon last week on the road, and that's no easy thing to do either. So you're getting an alma mater in here that's playing well and is on a bit of a roll, as they come to your place. Not going to be an easy challenge.
Not only that, Brian, he has a son that coaches for ETSU.
Uh-huh. So you've got some real ties here. Now, this is the second time, too, that you're taking on the Buccaneers.
That's right.
So you're 1-0 against Buccaneers so far. But that's a cool thing, is it not, as a coach? Obviously, when you work in this business, I have great fondness for everywhere I've ever announced games. But my favorite team is wherever I am. And obviously, you approach it the same way as a coach, as a player, whatever it is, whoever you're with is who you're rooting for and all that. But is that a special thing sometimes to see what your alma mater has done? And obviously they had a number of years without football in there too.
That's probably, for us old heads, that's probably the thing that we talk about more, is the appreciation of the people that reestablished the football program. You're exactly right. I'm Bulldog through and through. I will keep up with their scores because my son coaches there. We won't talk this week for obvious reason. My wife was a cheerleader there. I was a football player there. So, there's a lot of that human interest stuff going on. But, honestly, it's not as big a deal to me as you might think. They're the next opponent on the schedule. And, I played there when Reagan was in office, so nobody remembers that anyway.
I'd love to just get a couple of thoughts and maybe memories from you, because you've got an interesting resume. You've kind of been all over New Mexico State, Kent State, among several other stops, ETSU, both playing and doing some coaching. What are a couple things that stand out memory-wise that you carry around with you?
Throughout the whole thing?
Yeah.
The winters in Northeast Ohio.
Okay.
That thing they say about the snow belt, they mean that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't make that up or anything.
Oh, my gracious, like 113 inches of snow a winter. And it's a real thing that I take a yardstick out because everybody lies about the weather, right? And there's 18 inches of snow on the ground, and it goes from January till late February. So that's certainly a memory. The scenery, the John Wayne-esque scenery of Las Cruces, New Mexico, and the fact that it's 108 degrees in June, and that dry heat is a real thing. It's hotter here, trust me. With the humidity, it's hotter here than it is there. But those are interesting things. The beautiful change of seasons in some of the places. Everything kind of pieces together, and the opportunities to play in some great venues, obviously too. That's been pretty cool to be from the Rose Bowl to Texas to Ohio State to Penn State. Those are fun.
Well, you were the defensive coordinator at Charleston Southern a few years ago, and you've obviously spent a lot of time in this market. You really would have a good perspective, and I'll close on this note with you, Zane, but you'd have a really good perspective almost really from both sides of the now Low Country Boil Bowl and what it'll mean to kind of have that rivalry between the two teams, Southern and, of course, the Citadel.
Yes, sir. A game that should be played every year. It is a natural rivalry, and good for. I'm sure it's good for both sides. It's like I said, it's a natural built-in rivalry. It's one that's going to get talked about in the high schools, and it's going to cross lines of recruiting and that sort of thing, and gives the fans something to pepper each other about.
Right. That is Zane Vance, the Bandits coach here with the Citadel. Now, Coach, how did I do? Is there anything I should have asked him that I didn't?
No, I think you nailed it.
That's him putting the pressure back
definitely
on him. Well, Zane, we really appreciate it. Obviously, join us anytime. And we look forward to having fun like this the rest of the season. We do this every Monday. You're always welcome.
Well, I appreciate it very much. I have to fight my Southern Baptist roots because I talked 30 minutes to a wrong number. So.
All right. That is Zane Vance. He's the Bandits coach, and he's got a pretty good sense of humor, too, and some great stories. We're going to get into some more of those when we have the opportunity. But this is Beyond the Barracks. I'm Brian Giffen. Coach Drayton seated over here a couple seats to the right. Zane Vance next to us here, and we are live at Over the Horizon Brewing here on Monday night. It is Beyond the Barracks. We do this every week. A step, a look, and a listen behind the scenes at Citadel Athletics, and there's a lot of interesting stuff we'll be doing. Coming up in a little bit, we're going to talk cross country. Next, Coach Drayton and I are going to take a little closer look at East Tennessee State. We thank Zane for coming up, and we will take a time out right here. Back with more after this on the Citadel Bulldogs Radio Network.
Thanks.
talking Citadel Athletics, and we're doing so at Over the Horizon Brewing right here at 2200 Harriet Street near downtown. We're really right off I-26. Brian Giffen with Coach Drayton, as is always the case on Mondays, and we're joined now, a special guest, by Maurice Doman, who is the Bulldogs' new cross-country head coach. And look, fall sports, we are knee-deep in it, and that includes you. Hi.
Hi.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
That was your cue to go ahead and weigh in. No,
yes, it does.
No, it's great to have you here. I just would love to get your thoughts on the opportunity and, just some thoughts in general on Citadel Athletics. It's a very special department. I'm happy to be a part of it myself. I'm a year in.
I'm very excited. I was hired just 2 weeks prior to the start of our season, so I was really nervous, just excited but nervous, not knowing the regiment and how everything actually works, because until you live a day in the life of these cadet student athletes, you actually have no idea.
Well, and the sport aside, and I know, Coach, the sport is one thing, but you're also jumping levels. You had worked a lot at the high school level, but now you're going to move up a level, and you're basically going to work with a little bit more mature, a little bit more developed athlete too.
I was excited to jump in there and have people who were hungry for it. Some people maybe needed a little pep talk. I definitely like to bring the energy for these cadets. They go through a lot on a daily basis, and I the first words out of my mouth to them was how much I admire them and how my expectations aren't necessarily going to change, but I'm going to pivot and move and feel out what they're going through in order to get the best out of them at that workout or whatever it is we're doing.
One of the things that's unique, and it's an easy thing, one of the things that's unique, I think, about the Citadel is your typical cadet student athlete isn't really wired necessarily a lot like a typical student athlete somewhere else. There's a level of commitment, there's a level of a lot more than just your athletic pursuits that are at stake when you come to the Citadel, and it takes a unique individual to not only take that on, but to thrive and succeed in it too.
Absolutely. Cross country, I'm assuming most people know how it works, but maybe not everybody, because it actually isn't in the Olympics, although I do think they're going to bring it to LA, hopefully. But it's a lot of grind. It's asking a lot of your body, just demanding in the moment. There's no pauses, breaks, anything. And so they do that on a daily basis as a cadet, and then now I'm asking them to do that on top of this.
That's right.
And so sometimes it seems like practice is actually a reward, which is cool, because we get to go off campus sometimes, we go to the beach, we're going to the mountains, but yeah, it's definitely been a challenge, but fun at the same time.
I would love to know just how, so if you had to quantify how much it's changed from when you were a college athlete to what now the kids in your program are like. Give us some thoughts on that.
Oh, they are so fancy now. Not Citadel cadets per se, but in general, I would say cross country and track and field, what they have access to, the shoes, the gear, the fuel, the science, and just the knowledge that is at our fingertips compared to back in the day. We just ran hard and hope for the best. Cross the finish line first. That's the goal, right? So, I think now we have so much more to cater to athletes who are maybe on the cusp of being great.
Yes.
We can kind of push them to that because of our knowledge and what we have, and then as cadets, they are held to a higher standard already. So cross country kind of fits that, that kind of mindset, that drive. It definitely matches well with the cadets.
It probably makes the news most in the sport of baseball, but in reality, analytics and data-driven analytical stuff is a big part now of how players are developed, in a lot of cases recruited, and coached. I'd love to know how that extends to how much of what you do as a cross-country coach is somewhat analytics-driven.
How much time you have to nerd out? No, I actually love to study and read, and that's what's actually been beneficial at coaching at both the high school level, but also attending camps, clinics with Division I schools like NC State, App State. They helped me be a better coach because I'm able to sit there and pick their brains, add to my spreadsheet, this is the exact time that you want to be hitting. And yes, you can have all that data, but at the end of the day, it's the kid, it's the individual, and how they respond to that stimuli, because it's not going to be the same as everybody else.
Right.
So I really am enjoying getting to know each individual and taking that data, whether it be from a workout, whether it be from their history, their injury prone, their genetic makeup, all those things, go into, okay, what's my workout plan for this person for this week? Okay. And luckily, I do have a small enough group of kids that I can cater very individually to them.
Since you're new here, I'd like to get your thoughts on, I guess, what your expectations are for the coming year, and also just, I guess, an overview of the roster that you kind of take on as you arrive here, too.
Like, what do you, maybe elaborate on that a little bit?
Just some thoughts on what you inherit roster-wise, what team members you have that you're excited about, this and that. And then just some thoughts on what your expectations first year are.
Yeah, it's hard because I want, of course I have like so many great things that I'm hoping to make happen, just like lickety-split.
Right.
But, I pump the brakes, calm down, get to know everybody, get to know everything. And I definitely enjoyed like wanting to make these seniors like go out with a bang, because some of them were riddled with injury. Some of them, had setbacks in their life that, they shared with me, and this is it. They're getting their rings next weekend. And so I definitely wanted them to just go out feeling like, oh my gosh, I got a really great experience, and I was able to have that growth mindset, even though it's my last year. And then on the flip side, I have the Knobs, who we had a pretty good recruiting class thanks to Coach Cut. I really appreciate Coach Aaron, who was the previous coach, as well as Coach Cut and Coach Huddleston, just helping me, kind of guide me through this recruiting class that we got. And they're all just awesome, driven kids, but they're real tired, and they sometimes need a break. And so I'm hoping to see progress, right? Take those numbers and just every week, if it's not adding up and the numbers aren't adding up, well, then we got to revisit back to the drawing board and make sure like I'm catering those workouts correctly for their growth.
What are your thoughts on the SoCon? I mean, in every other sport, the SoCon's got some really talented athletes. I mean, up and down. Doesn't matter which sport it is.
Yeah. For us, it's Furman for cross country. Not in every sport, but for Furman, they sweep it every year. I want to say this is their 16th straight title in cross country.
Wow.
And they are just really, really heavy in the distance area. So because of that, it makes it really challenging. But we're going to climb that ladder.
That's right.
I'm just one at a time. We've never had an NCAA qualifier because you can qualify as an individual or as a team. But we've never had that. And then, of course, it's always fun to break a school record. Start small. Everybody can get their own personal best. So luckily, we have that at the end of the day, that you can always chase that and just kind of slowly but surely climb that ladder.
It seems to me like, and Coach, you can weigh on, it seems to me like Charleston would have a lot of really good advantages in terms of what it's like here to recruit kids to want to come to school to some degree. I mean, from a terrain and climate and all that, it's a little bit like spring break year round here. For one. Although at the Citadel, it's going to be anything but. But I just wonder, how much that may play into favor when you recruit athletes. How much do you use Charleston, and what a unique area with all the cool history and everything here. How much does that play into and help you recruit?
Yeah, so I moved here in 2006, and I was at Stall High School for a year. I was at Wando, Oceanside, and Lucy Beckham. So I've had the gamut. But because of that, I'm a cross-country coach, like mindset. I'm like, okay, where's the hill in North Charleston? Where's the hill on Sullivan's Island? Where's the right grassy terrain? So because of that, I've gotten really creative. And I tell the kids, I'm going to be fueling. I'm making smoothies in the track hallway. I'm going to be taking you to the beach, Citadel Beach House. Obviously, we sometimes get to go there. We're going to Sullivan's. There's a secret hill and people don't know about. And, just stuff like that where I can hopefully make it like a really fun, spring break kind of experience, but let's be real, that's not the Citadel. And so to be that reprieve for them, to be that sort of like energetic timeout per se from that life, that's maybe cross country, right? We get out in the woods, we get out and kind of get your mindset right for the week.
Right. Well, it's great to have you up here. Obviously, we're excited for the season you're going to have. We'll keep an eye on what's going on, too.
Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate it.
That is Maurice Doman, the cross-country coach here at the Citadel.
Thank you so
Hanging
much.
out with Coach and I. We're just talking a little cross-country and talking a little bit of Citadel athletics. We will turn our attention to the upcoming game over Parents Weekend. By the way, Coach, we have 2 pairs, not one, but 2 pairs of tickets for this game Saturday to give away.
All right.
We must, over the 4-minute commercial break, devise a method by which we're going to give these away.
Let's figure it out.
All right. All right, we're going to do that in just a moment. Thanks again, Marie.
Thank you.
And we are back with more of Beyond the Barracks live at Over the Horizon Brewing right after this on the Citadel Bulldogs Radio Network. Beyond the Barracks, presented by Cutwater Spirits. Brian Giffen, the radio voice of the Citadel, along with Maurice Drayton, the head coach, football coach that is, at the Citadel. And we now turn our attention to Parents Weekend, which we talked a little bit about in the opening segment of the show, but always a festive and a big day on campus. And, boy, what better way to have that be a really good day than maybe to go beat a conference opponent at home?
Yes, a really good conference opponent,
right.
Led by head coach Trey Lamb. Trey comes from Gardner-Webb, where he won back-to-back conference titles, back-to-back playoff berths. He's coached at Mercer, Tennessee Tech. He comes from a long line of really, really good coaches. His dad, Hal, won 3 state championships in the state of Georgia. His grandfather, Ray, won 3 state championships in the state of Georgia as well. And then everybody knows his uncle, Bobby Lamb,
right.
Who was head coach at Furman at one time, at Mercer, and now he's the head coach at Anderson University. Bobby has over 100-plus wins as a head coach.
Yeah.
So he comes from a long line of coaches. And I was teasing someone earlier today, when they have their family cookouts and Thanksgiving meals and Christmas dinners, when they sit around the table, you know, his whole life he heard about football and various things. So a very, very good coach. It will be a tough challenge from a coaching standpoint.
That might be a little bit like hanging out with the Harbaughs on Thanksgiving. You know, Jack, of course, forever, and then Jim and John. But so this ETSU team, they started off and, of course, you know, had a rough outing in their first game, but, man, they bounced back unbelievably. They really should have beaten North Dakota State. The game got away from them. And then, you know, this game last week, they roll up 34-14 on Elon. That's a tough place to play. And the CAA puts out some pretty good teams, too. So they're playing well.
Yeah, they're playing very well, especially offensively. Now, I know you said they had a rough outing their first game against App State. Well, they still had over 300 yards of total offense against Appalachian State. Then they come back week 2 and they have 614 total yards of offense. And then against North Dakota State, I mean, it was unbelievable. They almost rolled up 400 yards of offense. And in this past week against Elon, almost 500 yards of offense. So offensively, this train is rolling, and we have to be right defensively in order to slow them down. You won't be able to completely stop them, especially by the quarterback play. He's
right.
a really, really good player. But if we could just corral this offense and get the stops when we need it, I think it'll be a good day for the Bulldogs.
You know, having watched that, and of course you closed the season against them last year, but coaching change, rosters change so much. How different are they in terms of personnel? How different are they in terms of scheme and how they go about things?
Well, with today's football and today's technology and how the game's being played and how people are building seasons and not building a program, he brought 25 guys from Gardner-Webb. So, of course, he brings all his good guys.
Right.
And then the guys that were already at ETSU that are really good, he kept them. He didn't let them leave. So this is a really talented team, from their leading rusher, the running back out of Douglasville, Georgia, to 2 receivers that they have. One's a transfer receiver from Winston-Salem State. These guys, they're explosive, and they can put points on the board in a hurry.
You look, you know, over, of course, new regime and all that, but as you talk about, and they happen to be playing their best ball, too. The North Dakota State one, I think, should have. Honestly, you know what it made me realize or made me think about, the SoCon doesn't always, these days, maybe get quite the credibility of the Missouri Valley and some of those that are supposedly these, you know, the Big Sky, these ultimate FCS conferences. But I think between Furman and the playoffs last year, for instance, this game with ETSU, I certainly believe, having spent a year watching the SoCon and the quality of athletes, I certainly think it belongs in that discussion.
Oh, definitely. I'm going on record as saying the SoCon is back. SoCon is back to the days that I remember when on any given Sunday, a Southern Conference team can beat anyone in the country, and we don't have breaks in the SoCon. You look at some of these other super conferences where they don't play every opponent every year. Sometimes they play the down opponent that's in their conference. Well, not in the Southern Conference. You have to bring it every single week in and week out. And that's why I love the SoCon.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, you got 8 opponents, and you're going to play them all.
Yeah, you're going to play all of them.
And honestly, you could make the same case for the way that they operate basketball, too. The home and aways, the round robin, everybody plays everybody.
Yeah.
I think that's how you truly win a conference.
Yes, that's how you win a conference.
Well, so it is ETSU coming in here. It's Parents' Day, and of course, Parents' Weekend, we'll call it. But ETSU coming in here, that's a 2 o'clock kickoff on Saturday. We will be on the air with radio coverage at 1 p.m. right here on 102.1 as well as 92.1 FMs on Saturday. But certainly, we anticipate seeing you at Johnson Hagan. Just bring your radio with you. Yeah. Have you ever gone? Well, you're either coaching or playing. You don't go to. Well, I guess you would do it if you're recruiting or scouting, but you don't go to many games if you're not working, right?
No, not really. Not unless it's my daughter's games. I attending her soccer matches. Right. That's everything for me now. That's relaxing. That's fun. I love being a daddy.
By the way, as we run down to the last 5 minutes, we have 2 sets of tickets for this game against East Tennessee State to give away here. Coach, what did you have in mind for these?
Let's see here. So at the Mercer game, we actually had a Citadel graduate to do the coin toss. He happens to be the commander at Robins Air Force Base. He played defensive back for the Citadel, local product out of Hanahan High School. If anyone can name him, I think they should get the tickets. What do you think?
Now, do you want to give 2 or do you want to give all 4 of them?
Let's I don't know. Let's give all 4.
Yeah,
why not?
Let me do some splaining here. So they're all in the same row. We've got numbers 13 and 14. And then we've got numbers 9 and 10.
Yeah.
So unless there's people that that are just egregious that you don't want to be around that are in 11 and 12, it should be great.
Yeah,
you might be able to swap with them.
Anybody? Let's see. We got one person raising their hand.
All right, you got 2 people raising.
All right. Want to give it a shot?
Oh yeah. So he's waiting to get an answer here as we take this on.
All right. What about this gentleman here? Do you know the name? Yes, Colonel Dedrick Reese, full bird Colonel Dedrick Reese. Good job.
So,
and the gentleman that won these tickets, his name is Rob Nichols. He was actually a 2-sport athlete at the Citadel.
Wow.
Won the Southern Conference in the 4x1 in 1999.
Wow.
And starter at defensive back. There you go, sir.
So one Bulldog to another. I love this stuff. All right, so the tickets have been given away. And by the way, I need to bring them in. I've got a whole box of sunglasses in the car that I meant to come in here and pass around, and I didn't do that. That's my bad. A couple of keys, Coach, as we look now at this game, ETSU. Obviously, you've got a lot of things to build on, but you've also got a lot of good things that happened in this game you come off of, and maybe a reason to believe, take some confidence in there. Look, we're gonna come out there and knock you around, and we're going to play with everybody.
Exactly, and that's what we are. That's our messaging this week. Special teams wise, we have to continue to play well. We have to continue to be strong. It is our goal this week in special teams to score or set up a score. Defensively, we have to be able to corral this quarterback. This quarterback's a dual threat guy, run and pass. We have to limit the big plays, keep everything inside and in front of us. When they have their ebbs and flows of the game, when they rise, we have to rise and be able to match that in real time. We haven't been doing that. We've been letting opponents get out in front of us and then playing from behind. So if we can match that in real time defensively, that is a key to victory. And last but not least, offensively, we have to be able to put it in, we call it a touchdown, we call it put it in the box. We have to be able to do that. So anytime we have explosives, we have to score. And we had explosives versus Mercer, but we had to snap the ball again because we didn't score, and their defense was able to withstand. So anytime we get the opportunity to score on those explosives, that has to happen in order for us to be successful.
Last thing here, just real quick. We've got about a minute, but you guys have really been creative with some of your play calling too, and I love that. A couple of direct snaps here or there. Should we expect to maybe be off guard like that a lot for the rest of the year? I mean, that's fun.
Yeah, absolutely. We believe in watching our opponent moment, seeing what they give us, and creating things that our young men can execute. So many coaches today, they have a system and that's all they know.
Right.
Well, our system is whatever our guys can execute, and that is the definition of a coach. And a good coach is a great teacher, and I believe all teachers, educators can be good coaches.
Well, it is a home game this week. We remind you one more time, it's Parents Weekend, and ETSU comes in 2 o'clock kickoff on Saturday at Johnson Haygood. Pregame coverage from us at 1 o'clock on radio right here on 102.1 FM The City and 92.1 FM Old School. So, Coach, appreciate it as always. We thank all of our friends here at Over the Horizon Brewing, and we will look forward to seeing you later in the week and seeing you Saturday.
Yes, sir. Let's do it.
All right, go Dogs. That'll do it for us. Thanks to Joe Mack on the studio end, and we will talk to you this weekend, everybody. Bye-bye.